So what I want us to do is to start becoming more conscious, start choosing things in a better way for ourselves, and start creating a life that's going to gear us to really take advantage of the opportunities that are going to show up for us in the years to come.
This podcast is brought to you by The Integrated Human. We work up, down, inside out to plug yourself into your potential. If you want to see what we are up to and what's next, sign up to our newsletter or follow us on social media. If you like what we are doing, we really appreciate it if you can like our post on social media and YouTube and help us grow.
All right. Welcome to the Big and Small Podcast. I'm Jason Shields and I'm big.
And I'm Marit Gabrielsen and I'm the tiny one.
It is hot.
It's a hot.
And when I say hot, I mean hot.
Let's just say we live in a very interesting world right now.
Yes.
I think we've gotten to the point where we feel we are surrounded by clowns like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You get to the point where you just go, you don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, that's right. That was the thing. Like in the old days, you had the what finger. You pointed at terrorism. What? Or you pointed at a recession. What? Or you pointed at the Cold War. What? Or the Cuban Missile Crisis. What? Now there's so much stuff happening.
What?
Yeah, it's like you don't have enough fingers to point. It's just absolutely insane.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
I do not know enough about astrology. It's a world I don't know much about. I have a mother-in-law that knows a lot more. But she gave me a YouTube video and not too long ago. And for me, that I found a lot of comfort in it, at least, because she said, we're going to go through some stuff now.
Yeah.
And it's going to be crazy. And with what's been happening the last half year, there's too much happening at once. To the point where I myself find it difficult to deal with.
Well, not deal with it so much as understand.
Yeah, right? Well, yeah, to relate to them, maybe. To relate to, I think that's a better word, yeah. You can deal with it, but how do you relate to it?
But remember a long time ago, I said life is absurd, and you're like, no, it's not. Life's not absurd. It's absurd. Yeah. It is actually absurd, right?
Especially the way it's now.
Oh, well, that's the thing. Donald Trump. Now, I don't want to really.
We're not going to Trump this. It's not a Trump podcast.
Not a Trump podcast.
But he's a good example.
He's a great example. Like he had this reality TV show called The Apprentice, where he was just firing people left and right. So he gets back into the White House and he's firing like 130,000 people at a time and wondering if there's going to be a recession. Of course, there's going to be a recession. People are out of work and he's shutting down like the IRS and he's shutting down the CIA and he's shutting down, and then he rehires them. It's like this huge mess. And it's interesting because people like him that are making the mess for everybody around them. Like I think Tesla stocks dropped 40%.
But then I think Trump bought a Tesla car.
Yeah.
Because he's buddy.
Probably felt sorry for Elon. He's like, oh man, let me buy a car. Right? He's like the king of bankruptcies. Right?
Trump is. Yeah.
His major skill is having a large fortune given to him and then him making it into a small fortune. The guy lost money on 4 casinos. Now, how do you lose money? Like that's better than printing money.
Rigged.
They're literally
lose
rigged.
Money.
Yeah.
That's why when we've been to Vegas, we never gamble one single dollar.
Yes, we don't gamble because we know that all the big hotels in Vegas are made from people losing. So when you own 4 casinos, how do you lose money on every single one of them, Donald Trump? And then we're going to give that guy the reins to the biggest marketplace and the largest, basically, superpower in the world. It's a weird choice.
Yes. So it's a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
You have that. You have in Norway, they threw out how many millionaires because they wanted to tax them more. And they actually just said, I have had enough of this. Bye-bye. And then they blame and they're angry at the millionaires for leaving. At one point, people just have enough. And then they get even more upset because apparently the millionaires, they had people work for them in Norway, creating workplaces. What's
Yeah,
that called?
workplaces. Yeah,
Isn't it?
jobs.
Jobs. Thank you.
Yeah, workplaces. Yeah, but they're
They
creating
created
jobs
jobs.
for them.
Jobs was the word I was looking
Yeah,
for.
and when they
Workplaces.
leave, all of those jobs disappear.
And then they go, wow, how did that happen? And
Yeah,
then they have even less tax money coming in.
yeah,
And then they're starting panicking.
yeah.
And then what they do then is that they take a system like for chiropractors. We have had been a part of the big health system, care system in Norway, and they just remove a law because, well, we can't afford that anymore because we did this thing. It's so short-minded.
Yeah, it's short-sighted.
Yeah, short-sighted. It's the ability to think consequences.
Yeah.
It's amazing, or lack of, I would say.
Yeah, they defund things that are actually working, like chiropractic, which is the only profession in the healthcare industry that actually reduces sick leave.
And there's Norway's own research that's shown that.
Yeah, the social systems actual research showing that, and it's also the cheapest, least funded portion of the healthcare industry.
Exactly.
And that's why they chose it.
Exactly.
Because, oh, well, nobody will miss this.
Yes.
Except that when you're then defunding the thing that actually works and actually gets people back to work faster than everything else.
Yes. So it's absurd.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness.
I'm throwing myself on the life is absurd. I've never felt moksha has been more useful.
Yeah.
Never applied it more.
Yeah.
Before I had my internal stress, but now it's so much external stress.
Yeah.
That to keep that that center of just some observation skill, maybe some peace, some sort of center, has never been more important.
Yeah, I agree.
Because the outside now, it's so chaotic, and like I said, I don't know, you don't know where to point anymore.
Yeah,
because like we talked, he's a clown, and he's not the only one. There's so many, and they're throwing things left and right, and things that been being said is being misrepresented.
Oh yeah,
in a way where it becomes chaotic.
Yeah, it's very interesting. You know, I go back to this idea from when I was a kid. You know, if you're basically 35 or older,
not me yet.
Yes,
34.
That's right. You'll remember a time without mobile phones, and that means that when you told your friend on a Wednesday, "Hey, man, let's meet Thursday at 2:00," you had to show up, right? You had made a plan, and then you would show up. But then the mobile phone came, and then you would just send a text, and you would change it on the fly. It got to the point where you would change that structure or that geometry, that deal you were making, literally 2 minutes before you were supposed to meet. And that's just, oh yeah, just go, oh, he sent me a text, whatever. Because everything's kind of loosey-goosey now. I love that. It's loosey-goosey.
Yes.
And the structure of society has become very loosey-goosey. All the kind of deals and what people stand for and what's right and wrong and what's the right way to show up in a meeting and not show up in a meeting. And
you sit with what's it called? Pajamas.
Yeah, pajama.
Half of your body.
Yeah.
Because you're on a Zoom call.
Exactly. You know, there's just crazy stuff happening. The structure of things, the way it's supposed to be, the way people are supposed to behave, is not only disappearing, but people don't even want it. They're super hyper reactive. They are escaping responsibility. They're escaping following their word. They're focusing on how they're feeling more than if things are working around them. And it's not that you shouldn't focus on how you're feeling, but how you're feeling shouldn't dictate how the world responds to you. Especially if how you're feeling is how you're feeling now, and that may change in 5 minutes.
Exactly. I think lack of honor.
Yeah.
And in oneself.
And loyalty.
And loyalty.
Yeah.
It's
discipline.
Huge. And discipline. I think because you don't have to have the conversation anymore.
Exactly.
There's no, first of all, you're getting bombarded, and when the most, maybe not influential, but powerful guy in the world.
Yeah.
Like you said, he goes into office, just fires a shit ton of people.
Yeah.
And then the hard conversation, I'm really seeing that these days, that the hard conversation we don't take anymore. because that actually we send a text message instead.
Mhm.
Because, and we talked about this, we talk a text message, a snap especially, we talk from state.
Yeah.
You can say what you're feeling, but you don't have to say it to someone's face.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that is something we've lost. Before you actually had to make an agreement, and you couldn't Snapchat and have 4 different Snapchat groups and figure it out and decide. You actually had to meet physically and
Yeah.
have a plan behind it. And if you had a plan behind something, you had to have a conversation. But now we just throw messages left and right, and your feelings and actions with emotions are so more applicable than what it
Yeah.
was before.
Yeah. And you could just allowed to do stuff.
Yeah.
So, like, literally, Trump drops in and he fires a whole bunch of people, and then he has to rehire them next day because, shocker, it's illegal to fire that many people, right? Shocker. But people just doing stuff. There's no respect or focus for the structure at all. It's very interesting.
I think it's, you talked about this, and now I will be paraphrasing, but remember we were driving to Oslo. And we talk about, and this is adult people listening to this podcast, we talk about, wasn't it guys and porn?
Okay.
You know, this psychologist you had listened to, that before they actually had to make an effort.
Yeah.
Because that's an interesting story, because it really kind of shows the world we're living in now.
Exactly.
I can't remember that. I just remember they had to put on a hat. You talked about they actually had to get dressed and put on a hat and make the effort.
Yeah, exactly.
Remember that conversation?
Yeah. It was quite interesting because, you know, our sexual drive. I mean, everybody knows they sell cars with sex. They sell everything with sex and attraction.
Clothes.
And yeah, it's insane, right? It's
Never been so clean.
It's never been so clean, right? But that's because that's the source of our power. The reason why a man would want to be excellent, clean up, and take a step outside of his mother's basement, turn off the video screen, would be to meet ladies. But when they're completely, totally addicted to unfortunate, weird videos on the internet that contain highly sexualized material,
weird stuff,
aka porn,
and stuff,
and such, they have no reason to shape up, clean up, put on a nice hat, and go out and meet people. They have no reason to be better. Women inspire men to step forward and be great. That's the normal, that's the old school way. You did everything so that you could get the date.
Exactly.
But now people get the date with a box of tissues and a computer screen, right? But it's and not to kind of simplify men down to that, but if a woman thinks of her whole emotional spectrum,
like we talked about in the last episode,
exactly, men have that in relationship to sex. So that whole experience of being validated and seen and all that, you can give that to a man. But if he can take that from a video screen, we are screwed.
And that's kind of the point, that everything's come down to that device now.
Yeah.
There's no effort made. If that has to do with business, if that has to deal with meeting a partner, in having real relationship and connection, we don't have that anymore. And I was actually listening to Mega Trends for 2020.
Wow.
I actually know the word mega trend.
Yeah.
For 2023. 2030, of course. 23 has been behind us.
Yeah. 2030.
And it really emphasized the focus on how much we're going to be connected.
Yeah.
But disconnected.
Yes.
Because I think there were so many billion electronical devices we would have.
Yeah.
But less and less connected. We even had a friend of us that were in London, and she got mugged. Someone was she was on a bus station, exactly. And then she was leaving home. She had been working for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu the whole day, taking photos. She's an amazing artist.
Yes.
And then she's standing there, and it's a full bus stop. It's in London, and then a guy just kind of runs by and grabs her stuff and continues with him, and people are just standing there watching.
Yeah.
And if that wouldn't have been a question like 50 years ago, like that guy would be tackled down and
Oh yeah, yeah. Somebody would
taken.
have chased him. That
Exactly.
guy would have been
But
caught,
now
or yeah,
we're so connected on our phone,
yeah.
looking and saying, "Hey, love you," and kissy kissy, and you cool,
And we're not involved.
but we're not involved at all.
Yeah. People see a child getting mauled by a dog, and they take the video camera out to video it instead of help
Exactly.
the kid. And there's so many episodes, because when you watch these videos on social media, do you ever ask yourself, who's the jerk standing there with the camera watching?
Exactly. So,
Right?
so it's strange time we live in.
Yeah. But one last thing around that, because it's a little bit important. We're so hyper attentive and addicted to what's going on in social media and in the news and all of that. We live in this constant state of trying to move away from discomfort and pain and urge to satisfaction, pleasure, and short-term happiness
Validation.
and validation. So, not realizing that that's the bottom of that pyramid that we talked about at the flow state. Because when you're stuck in your sensations, you're stuck in your validations, in your lower ego, basically they can manipulate you. Meditation, moksha meditation, has never been more important, because you need to be able to pull yourself back to get an overview of what's important for you. What do you want in your life? Before, the structure of your life held that, but now there's no structure, my friends. So you have to constantly reorientate yourself. Before, you kind of knew exactly where you were and what the rules were, and you were moving forward, but that's changing all the time.
Yeah, and like before, you would know if you do that, the teacher would kind of
Poof.
put you in place again.
Yeah.
But now, like the news, like that's why I brought it up. You have no clue where left and right is.
Yeah.
And I use sometimes my army terminology. You had how much left you can shoot and how much right you can choose. You know kind of where your path is,
Yeah. You know where you can shoot and
what
where
you
you
can
can't shoot.
shoot. Like you
Yeah.
can go there and there. It's super simple, and it for safety.
Yeah.
Well, structure is for safety, and
It is.
people forget that, because especially like in places like Norway,
Yeah.
you have everything.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
You have everything, so you don't
You
think
don't
you
feel like you need safety.
safety.
Yeah.
But the safety is there to actually give some sort of direction.
Yeah.
So you don't go the wrong way.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
gives you, I like structure.
Yeah.
Because I know where the focus is, so I don't have to deal with all the other stuff that's outside that, because it takes away from my goal, my direction. But at the same time, we don't have maybe goals and directions, and therefore we're just in
Exactly.
this spot of nothing.
Exactly. And this is the problem, that as a man, because we're talking about men
Yeah.
and addiction to porn, as a man's brain is developing, or as a female's brain is developing,
Yeah.
because they're just as addicted to social media and validation.
Don't understand what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, but as the brain develops, there is a development of the sense of self and the sense of direction. And if we are being hyper addicted instead of being self-aware, self-reflective, and having experiences that help us figure out who and what we are and what we want in our life, we have a big problem, because then we become adult addicts instead of adult movers, adult deciders. How can you live by conscious choice, meaning choosing your life, when 15 hours a day you're being just hypnotized and run by the internet, by your phone, by the TV, by your computer screen, by movies, by whatever?
Before, it kind of was, you had the newspaper,
Yeah.
and then you had like the billboard,
Yeah, exactly.
and then you had to have word of mouth, kind of.
Yeah.
But then you actually could reflect and discuss a little bit.
Yeah.
But now
Yeah.
it's everywhere.
Yeah. And you don't discuss with your friends either, right? You've never been so far away. During the flow state, there was a really intelligent guy, many intelligent people that are there, of course. But David, I was explaining that you have, your pure consciousness and universal awareness and your worldview. And then from your worldview, you get to your personal philosophy. And he said, yeah, but you can just put a line there, because the rest of that shit doesn't matter. Because the personal philosophy, then you have roles and your values and your emotions and your body, because most people are living so far down on this scale that they're not even aware that they have a worldview, that they have a personal philosophy even. So he's actually quite advanced that he knows that he has a personal philosophy. But most people walk around and they think, oh, it sounds like a cool thing, but they've never actually addressed their own personal philosophy. What do I believe? Why do I choose what I choose? They don't know that they have roles in their life that they're playing as, they know they're a dad, but they don't know that that is a chosen role, or it's a random role assigned by a biological process called sex and having babies. Right?
Fair enough.
Yeah, but a lot of people like, oh yeah, we had too much to drink and now she's pregnant and now, oh my God. I'm not shaming, but that
It's actually
was
how most kids become
exactly
kids, I guess.
Yeah, but if you were to choose that role and really dive into, I want to be a dad, I want to be a mom, maybe your relationship with that process is going to be different than if, oh shit, she's pregnant, right?
Yeah, no, it's very interesting, the world we're living in.
Oh,
but
yo,
that was that.
Yes.
We asked on YouTube, now Facebook, now Instagram.
Yeah, wow.
Going through
so
all the social media
yeah,
channels.
Yeah, exactly.
Forgot LinkedIn in this.
This many. Yeah.
We asked if anyone had questions yesterday, and we have gotten a couple. So I've chosen one that's really interesting. Regarding, we have a lot of outside triggers these days. So again, moksha is the thing. So one of the questions we got in was this: one way to deal with fear and panic is by building up your ability to handle them. If you can trigger some of your anxiety or panic, like by thinking about something that usually makes you anxious, is that a good idea? I tried this and noticed that during the practice and for a while afterwards, negative feelings seems to disappear. What do you think about this approach?
It's extremely good to a point. So if I'm having anxiety, and a lot of people don't know that you can have waves of anxiety coming over you, right?
Hallelujah.
Hell, yep.
Preach.
Yep, that's it. So people go into a period of sadness or a period of depression or of panic or anxiety or happiness. It's not just the negative ones. It's just, those are the ones we kind of write down in our book that sucks, So you will have either biochemically or psychologically a reason that it gets triggered. Once it's triggered, if you can direct the energy, let's say you have anxiety, okay, then use it. Go train, run, go for walks. Clean. Yeah, exactly.
Really good for cleaning. Folding that bag of laundry.
That's it.
Anxiety is my friend there.
Yep.
Because I hate doing it. I always build up to the point where it's falling off the table. It's about 4 loads.
Yeah.
Like, where is that goddamn anxiety? Where are you? Need you now.
Where are you, babe?
Need to do. There you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
Folded clothes. Yes.
Yeah. So you
get to direct the emotions into something.
Exactly. So first, it's about that being aware enough to know, oh, I have anxiety. Let's use it. But a lot of times we're in this kind of floaty state where we're just being tortured by this horrible feeling that's anxiety, and we feel like we're swimming in an ocean and not able to find any place to stand. And that's the problem. If you're in that situation, then you shouldn't try to trigger it more.
No.
Another thing is that when you're feeling very strong and you are grounded, thinking about things that normally give you anxiety can be very helpful. It can give you energy, right? So that's, if you hear about Hoist Gracie, he was the original jiu-jitsu champion from the Gracie lineage in the UFC. Okay. And when they talked to him about this, because he was a much smaller guy than all in those times, these fights were no time limit and they were no weight class. So he was a smaller guy and he was winning over these giants, right? And they asked him, well, how do you prepare? And he says, I always think that my opponents are going to have like 4 arms and 6 legs and 5 eyes, and that they're just going to be monsters. They're not even humans, so that I prepare myself for these superhumans. And when I go in there, so he terrifies himself in order to motivate himself, in order to get the job done. So that's a perfect example of using something that triggers anxiety in order to power yourself up, right?
Same as Michael Jordan that used disrespect. So
Yeah,
he made up stories where he got disrespected to feel disrespect so he could perform better during a game.
exactly. And he knew how to channel that. Now, of
Exactly.
course, there are, and if you go back in one of our podcasts from the past, you'll find disrespect on one of them. That we talk about
Most
that
likely many of them.
in detail about Michael Jordan and his mechanisms, which are very interesting, very useful. But that podcast is awesome. But the point is that yes, you can use that in order to direct it. Now, if you find that you're using up that energy in a way that those reasons disappear, that's also a good thing if you feel like you're too often triggered by anxiety. Because some people are plagued a little bit by one or other emotion because of biochemical reasons, because of light deprivation sensitivities, all kinds of
You're
things.
looking at me when you say
Well,
that.
I am looking at you. I'm not blaming.
I don't know anything about
Exactly.
that.
But there are reasons that people have these waves coming, and choosing to relate to them is probably a better idea. So it's not a bad idea, but make sure you're doing it consciously.
Yeah, I would say that if you have anxiety, don't do it. Like if you're having it,
Yeah.
do not do it. Find moksha and breathe and find a way where this can get an outlet, if it's training or walking or folding laundry, whatever it is. I think then you shouldn't trigger it more. But if you're feeling, like I said, feeling strong, feeling good, to kind of invite it a little bit in, I think could also be good, because when you are in anxiety, if you haven't practiced identifying it, you will not understand where you are when you have it.
Mm.
So I think consciously then choosing to look at it and then let it go again will help you also identify it when it happens in that situation we're talking about, or in another situation,
Yeah.
just so then you can easier recover and come back and use it. So I agree, if you have it, moksha, do not trigger it. But if you're feeling strong, having a look, it's could be a very good thing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And one of those things that, some people listening to this may go, well, what, you don't think that I'm going to know that I have anxiety when I have anxiety?
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. But that's it. Have you ever been driving a car and then suddenly, oh my God, who's been driving the last hour and a half? Because you've been off somewhere else. Well, that automatic processing is that part of that unconscious mind that people walk around in. I don't want to say like zombies, but like
Like zombies.
they're like zombies. They're doing automatic stuff, including feelings. So you can be tortured by anger, rage, anxiety, all kinds of different things, depression, feelings of unworthiness, feelings of loneliness.
You're doing feelings all the time.
Yeah, we're doing feelings all the time, and you may not know it because that's happening in your automatic self, where you're thinking about the next way to scam some Bitcoin off of somebody. I'm just kidding, of course.
Someone else might be thinking
Somebody else is definitely
thinking
trying
that.
to figure out how to scam.
But you can think about that, but then you express anger.
Exactly. You are angry. You're expressing your emotional states on somebody who maybe doesn't deserve it. Has that ever happened?
No.
Right. And just,
Sorry,
yeah,
that's the biggest lie ever told in this podcast.
yeah, no.
Happens all the time. But getting better at it, or at least understanding that that's what's happening.
You're so good at it. You're way better at that than they are at securing cryptocurrencies. $4.7 billion worth of Ethereum, what was just stolen. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry.
Oh,
Anyway,
sorry. Anyways,
back to
that was the question.
Yeah.
Yes, but I would say that yes,
I hope that
we are
helps, my friend.
doing emotions a lot.
Yeah.
But identifying them, practicing it, yes. But again, if you're having it, come back to your moksha, come back to the breath, and find a way to channel it where it's useful for you, like cleaning your house.
Yeah, become friends with it.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing.
Yeah.
We also have a new. We're trying out a new section for our podcast. If you like it, please give us a DM on it. And you don't know this, I think, because I just realized on Spotify you can give us stars.
Ooh.
So if you listen to Spotify, please give us stars, and you should of course give us 5. But also if you give us 1, that's okay, because hate is also attention.
Ooh. Woo, woo.
Please give us
Go
5.
for 5.
Give us
Yeah. Don't be hating.
Don't be hated. And you can leave a comment there.
Oh,
Yes.
sweet.
So where was I going with that? Yes, if you like this new section we're coming with, please, because if you don't want to drop us a direct message, you can also write there.
Yeah.
It's a new, I think they have it on Apple Podcast as well, but they do have it on Spotify.
All right.
So please like our podcast, give us a 5-star rating. And if you want to leave a heart or something in the comment section.
Yes. Did you know that 66% of the people listening to this are not subscribed?
And we're laughing about it. It's sad. Sad. Tears.
Yeah.
Tears. But you should subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe.
Then we get a bling.
And like.
And
share.
And
Yeah.
star. Anyways, so this is a section we will call hot takes.
Ooh, sizzle.
So a hot take, we were a little bit confused of what that was because we had a friend that said, oh, you should do that. And we got, what's a hot take? A hot take is a trend. And what we think about that trend. Yeah. So if you have a trend that you think is ridiculous or think is really good, send it to us and we will use that as a hot take and give you our opinion about it.
Oh, snap.
So this week's hot take that we got is 5 a.m. rituals and morning hustle culture.
So 5 a.m. morning rituals.
Yes.
And
morning hustle culture. So if you live in Norway and you don't use PM and AM, it's 5 o'clock in the freaking morning.
Yeah.
And there you, with that sentence, you know what I think about it. I'm in bed.
Yeah, exactly.
So what do you think about 5 a.m. rituals and morning hustle culture?
Well, because we lack structure and discipline, we have to find rituals that we can keep that are portable for ourselves to move forward in our lives and to exercise the anterior mid-cingulate cortex. And you're like, what's that? Well, that's the part of your brain that grows, that gives you willpower when you do things that you don't want to do. Hashtag jump into cold water. Hashtag get up early. Hashtag try to go to work without having 17 cups of coffee and a pre-workout. Right?
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
Had a guy come to training and go, like, have you had coffee? Like, no.
Pre-workout.
Okay.
Like, how much, bro? Damn, son.
Just one espresso.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't think that was one espresso.
Right.
Anyways, yes.
So that's the thing. It's like, is 3:30 in the morning early enough for you? Is 5 o'clock in the morning early enough for you? Is 7:30 early enough for you? It depends. Depends on when you go to bed. So I do get up at 3:30 in the morning. I do get up at 4. I do get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to meditate and to get my life started. But that's because I'm also older. I go to bed early. Like, it's not like I go to bed at like 12:30 at night and I'm going to get up at 3:30 and just hammer it because I'm a badass. No. When Jocko says he gets up at 3:30 to exercise, he goes to bed at 9:30. He's still getting 8 hours, guys. Doing things that are insane is always a relative thing. Insane for who? So, for example, the integrated human tripod, aka Maudit the Great,
me,
Steve the Spectacular,
her,
and little old me.
Little
old me. We went to an amazing hotel, right? And they had a spa area, and they have, of course, the obligatory ice bath. It's super chill in there, super cold. Maudit and I happen to really not like cold water.
Hate it.
Yeah, for me, cold water is like getting hit in the feet with a hammer.
It
literally
feels
painful.
Like that. It just painful. I don't understand why
it just
hurts. Do it. No.
But Steve the Spectacular, she freaking loves it. She feels so invigorating and alive. Afterwards, she's
like, very alive.
She's like, yeah,
it's painful.
I basically choose that out of my life. And you're like, well, you don't know the benefits. Well, actually, there is no benefit to it unless you want to do that. If you choose to do it for yourself, then there's a benefit. But if you're pushed into it, or people, make you, or you don't really want to, it actually creates the wrong neurochemistry in your brain. You actually get sick from it. So choosing to do that thing and doing it's the most important part of your life, whether it's getting up at 3:30 in the morning or 5, or working out before you go to work, or whatever your thing is going to be, right? But my point is that Monat and I, we fucking hate that stuff. Excuse the language, but just
No, we
it.
do hate it.
I
It's
hate
not.
it. It's not good, and it hurts. Like if you were to get in the shower after me, it would probably burn your skin. I love hot water. It's like
It's so nice.
It's so good. I feel like my whole body is
For me
cooked.
to bathe, we swim in the ocean, it needs to be 27 degrees Celsius. 27. If not, I will not go out there.
Yeah, because it's not fun.
It's
and you
painful.
get cold and painful, and it's not your choice. Now, but see, if the spectacular, she's super stoked. So, and she wants company. So what do? I'm a good husband. So I do what?
Walk in there.
I walk out in there. Did I make a scene?
No.
No. Did you even see me breathe hard?
No.
No, because I can easily walk into cold water, guys. If that's the most challenging thing you do in your life, your cold bath. It's so funny how people virtue signal. Well, I got up and I did my cold bath. I did my ice bath. Really? That's important for you?
I think the hot take became ice bathing.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Because we're doing stuff different, right? But really, my point is that just choose stuff that challenges you and do it, and don't talk about it. Just do it, because you're building your own brain. Mm-hmm. That's the point. One thing or the other. If you want to get up, you always hear this. Yeah, I get up at 5 o'clock. Well, I get up at 4. Oh yeah, but I get up at 5 o'clock after my meditation that I then had gotten up at 3:30 to do, and then I took the run, and then I did my ice bath, and then I
made homemade cookies for my children.
And then I sewed. I did some homemade sewing stuff, and then I got up at 5 from my sewing.
Of course,
because you don't want to be the person who gets up at 5 lazy.
No,
right?
No.
It's so ridiculous. That's my hot take.
Yeah. My hot take:
chill out.
Morning rituals and morning hustle sounds exhausting.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Yeah, but I mean, listen.
If it works for you, good. Does it make you a better person? No,
not at all.
But I think, like we said early in this podcast, if it gives you some kind of structure and it builds you, good. Yes. But if you're doing it because you think you become a better person out of it,
then you're doing it for the wrong reasons, and you're probably then not building that part of your brain.
And you're just getting hypnotized. Yeah, you can hypnotize from TikTok.
Yes, and one last thing. If you have to punish yourself in order to feel like you're hustling, that's a sign that you don't have a mission in your life. Because when I wake up, I'm stoked to get to work, to adjust my patience and be with my great colleagues and work with my tripod and do the things. I'm happy to be there. I want to be there. I'm energized. And that's the point. You want to be energized for your life. That's the real hustle. So remember, you matter. Unless you multiply yourself by the speed of light squared, then you're energy. But if you can't be energy, matter.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you felt we added something to your day and hopefully your life. If you want to learn more, subscribe to our newsletter and find us at integrated-human.com. That is integrated-human.com. Integrated Human on YouTube and other social media platforms. Have a great day, and thank you again for listening. Love, light, and upgrade from us at the Integrated Human team.